This actual play is intended for mature audiences and contains themes some viewers may find upsetting. Please check each episode's show notes for specific content warnings and enjoy the show with care.
We're back with the Between. Let's recap from last time. So you did resolve 2 threats last time, the River's Last Victim and Sally No Face. You still have 2 active threats. The Nutcracker, which you've made pretty good progress on, actually. You have 5 clues on 3 potential questions on the Nutcracker. I will give you a few leads to follow up here. We've done quite a lot of investigating the victims of the Nutcracker, but something we haven't really done yet is to go to the actual theater itself where the ballet dancers are work. We have not really talked to any of the other dancers in the company, and so those are all things that you might be interested in following up on. And of course, Fig's Pigs. You have no clues on Fig's Pigs, but we did get to glimpse a little something going on at the pie shop. There is much more to see at the pie shop, and it is probably your most fruitful avenue of investigation on that particular mystery. In Fig's Pigs, we do have to capture all 3 of the Fig family members within 5 night phases, or they escape. And so with all that said, I do want to take a look at the hunters as well. I always like to just check in with conditions, see how everyone is doing as far as that goes. Off mic, we talked about Ms. Jean-Baptiste clearing the Mary Alice Beale condition, but still has Ms. Quinn's secret and the great He Sao. Ms. Quinn, as ever, has no conditions. Dr. Mortimer has Hypocrite and Most Beloved, and Haskell has 3 conditions right now, marked by D.I. Fairweather, the Cashmere Glove, and Bruised Up from his tussle with the Sculptor, the villain of the Nutcracker threat. Also, I think it's worth checking in on Mrs. Brathwaite. You have 7 mastermind clues right now on that 8 complexity mastermind question. A really big reveal last time, which is the sort of alternate dimension Theodore Brathwaite, who is a man called the King in Blue. Ms. Quinn is very important, or was very important, to his plans, and so we think there might be a connection in this world as well. Before we begin with our day phase, I do want to give Dr. Mortimer a chance to tell us about her latest find for the child.
Yes. Because after Sally died, I took her hands. And as I was stitching them onto the child, I remembered Clara's hands. Dainty little things. Fingers as skinny as chicken bones. Always elegantly painted with the nails, but the skin was like paper. And she never took off her wedding ring. Not even after her husband threw her out. She always kept it on. And it always bothered me. Because it was as if she was admitting she would never belong to anyone else. Not even me.
Fantastic, thank you. So with that, we shall begin the day phase. This is indeed the very next day. and I have a new threat to introduce to you. The Spider Silk Seamstress. Among academics, Sir Richard Harlow was a well-regarded, if eccentric, scholar of folklore. Known for his vivid storytelling and far-fetched theories. To Hargrave House, he was a trusted friend whose expertise in fey lore and magic proved invaluable on numerous occasions. The news of his sudden death came as a shock. Even more, the manner of his passing. Sir Richard's body was found at his desk, strangely hollowed and preserved, wrapped head to toe in delicate silver thread. What's more, he was set to present a summary of his life's work at the Blue Feather Society, a private salon where curious minds explore the more esoteric subjects not discussed in formal institutions. Sir Richard was convinced that creatures of the Fey realm, or the so-called other crowd, had infiltrated London, and he supposedly had new evidence to support his theory. Ms. Abigail Walker, chair of the Blue Feather Society, reveals to you that Sir Richard had been courting a one Hazel Beaumont, a mysterious seamstress whose magnificent fashion designs, and apparently her company, have proved irresistible to a number of London's artistic and academic elite. Each of her other suitors have also vanished, though no bodies have turned up. Now I have to see who among you has the highest sensitivity, and I did not even have to look. It is, of course, Ms. Jean-Baptiste. Ms. Jean-Baptiste, Hargrave House is familiar enough with fey magic to recognize its manifestations in the manner of Sir Richard's death. How do you know that Ms. Beaumont is no human, but a dangerous fey creature in disguise?
The manner in which he died, not so much the wrapping, but the hollowing. His body was whole, intact, completely, yet the cavern inside him seemed to stretch further than his outside should allow.
Fantastic. Well, you have some questions here to follow up on in Sir Richard's death and this apparent fey creature. The first is, how is the creature ensnaring her victims? It's a complexity 4. Opportunity, resolve the threat by allowing a hunter to be lured by the seamstress as bait, then capturing or destroying her. Alternatively, what is the creature's true name? That's a complexity 6. Resolve the threat by learning the creature's true name, gaining power over her, and dismantling the binding rituals which sustain her in the human realm. Fey names can take many forms. A series of fleeting images, a song or poem, a word unknown to human tongues, and so forth. Alternatively, what does the creature truly want? That is a complexity 8. Resolve the threat by striking a bargain with the creature in accordance with ancient fey customs. This will give you access to a new move. And so, once again, a new threat for Hargrave House to deal with. At least it's not a human serial killer, which has been the real problem as of late. I'm going to go around the table and find out what everyone's interested in doing, and then we'll figure out what the scenes look like. Haskell, I'm guessing you're going to probably want someone to request a vulnerable move with you, but I will defer to the group. Dr. Mortimer, what is your plan for today?
I think heading to the theatre to clear at least one condition. The spider silk seamstress body, the body of Harlow, is very tempting, but I'll stick with the theatre for now.
Haskell, do you want to go with Dr. Mortimer, or do you have another plan?
I have another plan. I will have a vulnerable scene if Miss Jean-Baptiste is a willing participant. But then I'm going to go and see Jenny Johnston again,
Oh.
mainly because Shoreditch is in East London, and that's where the pie shop is. We could do with some info, and also I'm very invested in what her nephews are doing.
Oh, Jenny Johnston. Fantastic. So then we're going to set up with a vulnerable move scene, maybe before that or maybe during. What are you going to do today, Miss Jean-Baptiste?
I think the vulnerable scene will be before anything else. And I was going to go to the ballet as well.
Oh, okay, great.
To talk to some people, so it might be me and Mortimer doing it, unless Mortimer wants to go elsewhere, perhaps.
No, my mind is quite set. Thank you, Phoebe.
Okay. All right.
Fantastic. Miss Quinn.
Well, it has been a while since I got myself a new gown, and I've heard fabulous things about the seamstress, so perhaps I might pay a visit to our new resident first.
Hazel Beaumont's shop. I like that. Yeah, sounds good. The new resident. Oh, Ovelia Marriott. Oh,
I might speak to her first.
Yeah, of course.
See if she has any
that's
ideas.
great. Yeah, that's really good. Why don't we start with that, in fact? So we had described how Marriott came back into this world from her Fey imprisonment. And we also learned that Dr. Mortimer took her lungs. And so I think this makes communication with Marriott very difficult. In the beginning, there was a lot of just like Marriott trying to like gasp out some kind of communication with you all, but it's just not possible. And so instead, she communicates in the way she learned at the Feathered Abbey, the way the way the Fae communicate, which is to say that she will leave about signs and symbols and other things around the house. But also, you have to communicate with her in this way. And so I'm curious, Miss Quinn, how do you get Marriott's attention?
Well, I'm not much for drawing. I do have an interest in fashion. I do enjoy embroidery. And so I gather some dried leaves from outside that have been preserved from rotting entirely by the recent frosts, and a few dried carnation petals I picked up from a recent visit to an ailing woman, and I use thread to stitch them into web-like, lace-like hangings, and I leave them over doorways so that when you walk through, the threads snap and the petals and leaves flutter down on you in a way which says, surely I have need of your attention.
Marriott moves about the house, mostly unseen. Whenever you have managed to spy her, this is a question for everyone really, whenever you have managed to spy Marriott around the house, her presence was announced by something like this, some kind of weird shift, some kind of bauble left out, some kind of odd occurrence. I would like for each of you to tell me one such odd occurrence that preceded Marriott's being glimpsed moving through the corridors or slipping behind a door.
I think that Haskell, who knows a thing or two about going unseen, has almost taken it upon himself to try and spot her. And the closest he's getting is hearing her. But when her footsteps move, wherever she is, it sounds like footsteps moving through a kind of a mossy forest floor, rather than footsteps on wood or carpet.
While she goes unseen, every time Marriott moves about the house, there is the unmistakable tink of a jar falling over. And when you look into the ballroom, the great bell jar that used to contain her lungs, which is still in the center of the room, though now empty, has been pushed onto its side, as if she is going just to check to see if they have returned there. And they know they won't. Mortimer takes great pleasure in uprighting that bell jar, so it's always empty.
When she passes, for a moment, your breath sticks in your throat. As though someone's trying to take it to replace the breath that was lost.
There's a scent that follows her. You can always tell when she's just been somewhere. It's like cinnamon and sulfur in the same breath.
That's fantastic. I love it. Thank you all. Marriott Ovelia can act as an etiquette guide and translator on behalf of the hunters when dealing with the Fae. On 3 occasions, you can enlist her aid when dealing with the Fae, and you get to roll with advantage. I think the way you've described getting her attention works well enough, and indeed, you know she's listening because you get that smell that Wren just described, that cinnamony smell where it shouldn't be, right? You might even hear around a dark corner a soft, slightly squelching sound, squelching footsteps as opposed to shoes on marble. She's listening. What is your question?
Good morning, darling. I hope I'm not disturbing you greatly. I've been tasked with visiting a Fae creature and being the authority on such things. I wondered if you might have any clues as to how I could engage a creature who's been a little predisposed towards murder without being next on her list.
Go ahead and roll with... I'm actually going to make it presence because you observed a Fae formality to get her attention. And you get to roll with advantage because you are consulting her.
Okay.
So 3 dice and take the 2 highest.
3 on the ground. So 3. Okay, that was the lowest one. So I rolled a 10 plus 2, 12.
12. Fantastic. You will also get a mastermind clue. We'll come back to this. In the meantime, Ms. Jean-Baptiste, Haskell, frame up the scene for me, please.
I think were we to look at it as a camera moving through the halls of Hargrave House, it would follow up the stairs into Phoebe's bedroom. And Haskell at the moment is helping her with something. It is the next day, after what transpired the night before at the pie shop. And so Phoebe has she's in her like night shift that she would, and there's a rope, but she has it down around her shoulders, and you could see on her back shoulder blades are what look like bites made from a human teeth. Nothing to pierce the skin, but just enough to leave significant bruising. And Phoebe is procuring a salve and handing it to Haskell, who's standing behind her. If you wouldn't mind, I just can't quite reach some of these.
And Haskell says, you do realise, Miss Jean-Baptiste, there is perhaps someone more qualified to administer this kind of care.
And so I get to listen to the good doctor lambast me about my choices over the past evening. I would rather not. Plus, she would only give me the most perfunctory of care. At least you're quiet about it, Haskell, please.
And Haskell goes about it in much the same way that he was restoring that painting, just very delicately, with maybe some swabs and iodine and, you know, a little bit, just being very, very delicate and absorbed as to what it is, but not wanting to ask.
And I think in that moment, as I think she's sitting at a vanity with you behind her, and so she's talking to the mirrored version of you and not looking back. Well, I suppose there's something to be said about what is it, killers returning to the scenes of their crimes, although I don't know if Obert is that much of a killer. He didn't do a very good job killing me, I suppose.
It sounded, from what you told me, you were perhaps lucky to get off this lightly, miss.
There's a part of me, Haskell, that it's difficult to explain, but it's letting him do that in the moment brought a sort of clarity past the normal pains that I experience on the day-to-day. Something about the depravity of it, the indecorous nature of it all. It shakes something awake in me, which I cannot abide that much. And she is drawing the box, the familiar box, towards her as her hands begin to fiddle and make prepare morphine. Obert in that moment was not a threat, but a tool, or maybe a toy. Is that kind of thinking that I can't let continue. If you can understand. I don't know if you can. Maybe you can.
I can do my best to understand, but I'll only ever be able to see from one side of the veil.
Do you consider yourself very religious, Haskell?
I used to be.
You wear St. Christopher around your neck.
Very observant.
It's one of my talents.
You know your saints, miss?
Not all of them. I used to remember them more. My mind is more preoccupied with gods.
And then Haskell kind of looks at his knuckles, and you can see that they're very scarred. And he says, Sister Everett made sure I didn't forget mine.
And she looks at your hand and then at you in the mirror, and then you see her eyes shift slightly behind you in a way that you are accustomed to seeing someone look at something behind you. I'm sorry that happened to you, Haskell. Was that yours?
I don't quite take your meaning, miss.
As she turns around, all is gone. Never mind. Apologies, Haskell. You are gentle. I appreciate that.
Let us check in on the conditions, shall we? Which conditions were cleared?
I would like to clear the Great Hisao.
Please do.
Thanks.
And Haskell?
I think it makes sense for me to clear bruised up. Maybe I kind of administered some. I do not want to clear the Fairweather.
Yeah, fair enough. And you both will get to together define a clue as well for one of the active threats. Be thinking about what that is. I'm going to check in with you in a moment, Dr. Mortimer. I want to go ahead and give Ms. Quinn the clues from Marriott. Marriott does not ever just come out and speak, Ms. Quinn. You see the hem of her dress, or the bottom of her dress, like just kind of softly going around a corner. You hear something being knocked over in the distance. A window comes open and a draft blows in that causes a curtain to sort of like billow, and there you just barely see Marriott. She's leading you through the house, right? And eventually, you end up in a room that I'm not sure if you've ever even been in, but in any case, there is a table, and on the table is a book. And its subject matter makes it fairly obvious that she's left it here for you. The book is a book of fairy tales, bound in pale blue leather and silver embossing. And if you thumb through it, you'll see that there are comments and corrections scrawled in the margins of this book of fairy tales. Possibly by Marriott herself, made in her time with the Fae. The book is itself a clue. It's a clue that you sort of give a meaning whenever you take time to answer the question. You can say you found something in the book that's relevant to the Spider Silk Seamstress case. But your mastermind clue is also found here, because there are notes in the back of the book taken by Marriott that Mrs. Brathwaite hosted a delegation of the Fae at her country estate. And the subject was very particular. Mrs. Brathwaite believes the mythical Camelot was real. And she's looking for information about it. She's trying to communicate with people who might know of it. And of course, the other folk are, as likely as anyone, probably far more so.
Well, Marriott, let's hope that her staff were a little better at remembering etiquette.
Indeed.
Where did you find my book? I thought I'd lost it a very long time ago. And she'll take it.
And we'll pick up with you in a bit. Dr. Mortimer and Ms. Jean-Baptiste. Let's begin outside of Covent Garden, home of the Royal Ballet and the opera. You haven't gone in yet. And you're both approached by a woman, a beggar apparently, missing her teeth, wearing a Christmas wreath on her head, And she kind of dances in a circle towards you. And she does a flourish and a bow before the both of you. She says, "I am the Snow Queen. Do you have a gift? A tribute to give to me?"
Mortimer flicks a gaze at Phoebe and then back at the Royal Ballet. There is no Snow Queen in the production of the Nutcracker, so you are out of place. But pray tell, what would a fitting gift be?
She dances around in a circle. She dances around in a circle, and she stops and fixes her gaze on you, Dr. Mortimer. And she says, "You have something in your pocket. Something sharp. 2 of them. And indeed, you have the vampire fangs in your pocket. Even if you didn't realize it, you can reach into your pocket and feel them there. Give them to me, and I shall tell you a tale."
Curious. Mortimer does somewhat as she instructs. The dance itself didn't really do anything for me. It's not really showing off her form, but nevertheless, Christmas and all, a time of charity. She pulls out the fangs and looks at them. The last time she saw them, she'd been with Rabbi Solomon. She hands them over to the Snow Queen.
I was right. I'm always right. And she kind of looks sideways at Ms. Jean-Baptiste, but not at you, Ms. Jean-Baptiste. She's looking at the entities that are always with you. And she says, "I'm always right. And I always know where to hide." How do you know she's communicating with them? How do you know they're communicating with her?
Phoebe doesn't experience much in the way of quiet. It's always somewhat of a distant din of someone trying to get her attention. And it's like someone lowered the volume. Their attention is not fully on her anymore. Someone else is taking their attention, and she is very aware of that. It's like when I only have the modern term now, but it's like when you hear a fan turn off that you didn't know was humming. It's like, what?
She dances around behind Ms. Jean-Baptiste and makes eye contact with you, Mortimer, from behind Ms. Jean-Baptiste and says, "Not all puppets have strings." And then she dances back into the center of you both, clears her throat, and tells her tale. She tells a story, an odd story, relating the birth of Christ. She tells the story as if she had been there, but the details are wrong. But she speaks them with a real certainty. There's tears streaming down her cheeks as she recalls. They freeze on her cheek. Everyone, please tell me an incorrect detail about the birth of Christ that the Snow Queen relays. Or maybe it's a correct detail. How do we know, you know?
The Nativity would have you believe that Mary was clad in white and blue, perfect and angelic, as if giving birth was nothing more than an inconvenience. And the boy was delivered perfectly. But in this story, Mary is in rags, and she is bloody. Her distended belly is bloated. She is not this perfect, pure maiden. She is a woman after birth. She is pain, and she is tired, and she is exhausted. And it is unsightly.
Thank you, Dr. Mortimer. Who else would like to share a detail that's wrong in her story?
The wise men all have almost like Shakespearean animal heads on, and they're all animals from the story. So there's like a donkey and a camel, and it just looks very incongruous as she describes it.
The animals that are meant to be there, said donkey and said camel, have been replaced with animals that aren't of that size or shouldn't be, like a rabbit and a crocodile.
And as Mary gasps for breath, recovering from the difficult delivery amongst this odd menagerie, the Snow Queen describes the two other young children, one holding each of her hands and saying, "It'll be okay, Mummy."
I was there at the birth. She holds up her hand with the two fangs in it. And so was he. She pockets them.
So was who?
And now I shall tell you what you want to know. Sometimes I'm there when they're born. More often I'm there when they die. She looks you hard in the eyes, Dr. Mortimer. I was there when she died. She turns to look at the ballet or at the opera house. I was there when they died. They just couldn't take it anymore. And I held their hands. And then she laughs a trilling laugh and dances away down the street. Your clue that you're getting for giving the gift is that the dancers who were the victims of the sculptor might have been complicit in some sense, or they might have known. It didn't come as a great shock to them in any case.
I think Phoebe will take a look at Dr. Mortimer.
Mortimer is visibly pale. Paler than usual. White as a sheet.
Are you quite all right?
Perfectly
Doctor?
fine. Perfectly fine. She was Spouting about total nonsense. She can't have been there when the dancers died. And she can't have been there when... Do you remember Rabbi Solomon?
I do. Yes, she's the reason that we had this case.
You don't remember her from before when she was a hunter at Hargraves? I can never remember if you... Your times may not have overlapped.
It's all a bit vague, Doctor. I'm sorry.
She was a friend. A good friend. She was killed yesterday. She was killed by the goddamn sculptor.
Interesting.
I was there with her. And there was no one else in that synagogue. Except me, the sculptor, and her. So, the Snow Queen claiming to have been there. Poppycock.
Is that who she meant?
Who
I see.
else?
I don't know.
Mortimer peers at you quite sternly. Who
Would you
else could she have meant?
Would you like to sit, Doctor?
Yes. Forgive me, Ms. Jean-Baptiste. I've not slept.
No, you do seem to be in an odd mood today. A difficult one.
Yesterday was a very hard day.
Yes, it was.
I broke my Hippocratic oath. You don't come back from that. You don't. It sits on you like a scar. I did harm. Quite physically. Directly. I should never have been put in that position. It should have been Haskell's job.
Oh, you're upset at Haskell. I see.
Among many other things.
I don't think he's aware of it.
No?
He didn't seem so this morning. You were saying...
My emotions mean nothing to him. He's taken another employment contract, or he took one out from under my nose. He was planning to leave her. Planning to leave me.
I don't know if that's...
He didn't tell me about it. He hid it from me. He betrayed me. And as a result...
Doctor, I really think you would be better served talking about this with Haskell. That's not to say I don't...
No, you're quite right.
I don't think he's aware of...
It doesn't matter who is aware of whatever malady I have with them, Ms. Jean-Baptiste. Nobody gives a damn. And I can't exactly blame them now, can I? Come. Let us head into the theatre and question some of the dancers.
Very good, thank you. Ms. Quinn. The journey to Savile Row. It's a bright, cold December day. You walk past a restaurant where an elderly bachelor dines alone, gazing vacantly out the window, as each course is placed before him and removed again, untouched. A veiled heiress in shimmering satin laughs theatrically at the jokes of her entranced suitors. A pair of dapper gentlemen draw stares as they emerge from a private carriage, their suits shimmering with unearthly hues in the sunlight. How are you dressed, Miss Quinn?
Cecily is off to meet a respected fashion designer, and so she has been sure to dress appropriately. She wears slacks, extremely high-waisted, right under her bust, tailored to accentuate the curvature of her waist. And atop, she wears a lacy blouse, which buttons right under her chin, with a men's jacket, which she has adjusted, tailored to fit her. And she wears a brooch, a simple brooch in the shape of a gossamer wing on the lapel of her jacket.
Savile Row. Vibrant, bustling storefronts. Tailors laboring away. Relentless displays of luxury and excess. Let's paint the scene, everyone. They say a perfect fit makes you feel like a new person. How would the wares on display tempt you to reinvent yourself, even assume a new identity?
It's not just about the fit of the clothes. It is about how they fit. Corsets are the start. The rest of the body has braces and all sorts and manners of like constricting bandages, binders, and equipment in order to change your proportions. And on Savile Row, they show these in earnest, and they show the bizarre shapes that people can achieve with such things. Great bustles that almost bloom out of the backs of young women. Men with waists that almost disappear. It looks entirely unnatural, like funhouse mirrors, instead of like looking at people or mannequins.
There's a hattery. It is one of the shops on the main street, and within it you can find the most simple, commonplace, and also the most extravagant and absurd looking hats that you can see, some several feet tall in length, toppling over with flowers, ribbons coming cascading down the back in all colors. And there are some, they change the shape of your face ever so slightly, depending on how you wear them.
Everything on Savile Row is an example of exquisite tailoring, but it is not all flashy and attention-seeking. Some of it is exquisite in a quiet, understated way. Somber fabrics, simple cuts, the kind of clothes in which one could disappear in a crowd rather than parting it. A strange thought.
Miss Quinn, you arrive at Miss Beaumont's shop to discover that it isn't open in the day. It's only open at night. And indeed, the painted window indicates as such it's only open at night and invitation only. What do you do?
Well, I try the door. Is it locked?
It is locked.
Then I rap very hard on it.
Indeed you do. While you're doing that, you hear laughter as two beautiful young people come up the sidewalk in your direction. One is a woman, statuesque, in corset and shawl, extravagant jewelry, very heavy eyeshadow, very modern. A silver cigarette holder. She's so tall, very taller even than her male companion, who you can smell even from some paces away because of his very heavily applied perfume or cologne. Something of an ill-fitting, though no doubt overpriced suit. She says, "Hadn't even heard of the symbolists. I mean, can you imagine?" I said, "Darling, if it doesn't have the power to utterly consume me, body and soul, what's the point?" And you can tell her male companion doesn't really know how to deal with her. She's not from around here. She sounds like she's from somewhere in the Atlantic seaboard. And they stop in front of the shop. Oh my word, slacks. That is quite a choice. Daring, even.
Who on earth are you?
I'm Sylvia Belrose from the Portsmouth Belroses.
You're rather far from Portsmouth.
Yes, I suppose so. If you're trying to get in there, you're not going to have any luck.
Did you not have any luck, Sylvia Belrose, of the Portsmouth Belroses?
Well, in fact, I had an incredible amount of luck. We are coming here tonight for a private fitting. Miss Beaumont is all the rage. Don't you have an invitation?
Cecily glances at Sylvia's male companion, and she knows from the way he is regarding her in utter silence that he knows exactly who she is.
Are you using Giveth?
Mm-hmm.
Let's read the move. Giveth. You can at any time you can declare that a side character is secretly one of your worshippers. How does he subtly or not so subtly debase himself right now in the scene?
She flicks her eyes towards that silver cigarette holder that Sylvia is brandishing as she condescends to Cecily. And he clears his throat and mutters, "Silver is very last season."
Fantastic. Scar your reflection, please. His name is Vincent Pomeroy.
Vincent invited me. Didn't you, Vincent?
Yes, I did. And in fact, Sylvia, I meant to tell you, you're going to be sitting with Ms. Beaumont on another night, perhaps. Tonight is for Miss Cecelie Quinn. And he does a swoop of his arms. And she has the most disgusted look on her face, right? And she's very tall. She towers over you, I would even say. She's also wearing quite high heel shoes, which doesn't help in the matter. And she's like a gazelle. She handles herself beautifully on the snowy ground in her precarious shoes. And she steps very close to you, looking down on you, and says, "And who exactly is Ms. Cecelie Quinn?"
Someone whose time you ought not to waste further, sweetheart.
And she kind of smiles and kind of sneers. And she has the nerve to brush a lock of your hair back that's fallen out of place. "Well, I guess it's just going to be that kind of day. London is so overrated anyway."
Cecelie hands as she walks away. Cecelie places a hand on the shoulder of Vincent to make him stop. And she passes him one of a pair of antique dueling pistols and says, "Kill that tedious woman."
Yes, of course. Anything. Whatever you say, it will be done. Sylvia, there's something I wanted to show you. Behind the building.
You can give that back to me tonight.
And Sylvia looks very confused. He has kind of a hungry look in his eyes as he looks down at the dueling pistols, this gift that you've given him. He will do exactly as you say, no questions asked. And we will pick up here in a bit. Actually, that might be the conclusion of your day phase, because now you know what you have to do tonight. So I do want to check in with the others, though. I regret to inform you that all of the paint the scene questions in the Nutcracker threat are very hard. I did not write them. They're great. They're great. They're really challenging. Okay. And so you get a good one here. Covent Garden, home of the Royal Ballet and Opera. Overwhelming, a temple to the muses. Orphans pray for salvation outside. Toothy icicles melt during the day, appearing to salivate. Paint the scene, everyone. In 1728, John Rich raised capital to build the theater through the success of the play The Beggar's Opera, which satirized Italian opera at the time. What subversive or satirical elements of opera do we see in the theater that reflect this history?
This is why Mortimer fucking hates the opera.
I see what you mean.
It is pompous. It thinks too highly of itself.
Oh, God.
Okay.
On either side of the stage, there are sort of a proscenium arch, and the legs of that arch, if you like, are carved into the shape of two handsome young men reaching out towards each other and looking at surprise. at each other. Because, of course, satirizing Italian opera of the 1700s, the Beggar's Opera includes not one, not two, but 3 cases of twins separated at birth.
In the Beggar's Opera, it is a pair of these twins that raise themselves from rags to riches, but then beyond riches. They take over the entire world. And there is this gaudy papier-mâché world that hangs next to the chandelier and is lowered down as part of the stage and spins as if a beggar could ever own the world or ever grow that rich. It doesn't work. It's never worked. And it sits up next to the chandelier and makes it look cheap. Ugh.
As is also the case in opera, there is, of course, in between the several twins separated at birth, several cases of betrayal. Betrayal of friends, betrayal of mixed lovers who have swapped who they love with the twins. And we can see these reflected in masks being handed off, in paintings depicted, but some of them, they look very much like comedy in tragedy masks. They're handing them off as a game being played back and forth.
Fantastic. I think the two of you arrive during a late afternoon rehearsal. No one stops you from coming in. Indeed, I think it's at this time maybe not common, but not entirely unheard of for people to be allowed in, especially well-known patrons of the ballet, to be allowed in to kind of watch the rehearsals. And you see they're performing the Nutcracker. The dancers are doing their thing. You can tell that there is a sadness overhanging everything because of all of these things that have been going on with the company, with the dancers. There's also a bit of fear. And this is where you'll realize that everyone here, from the people who manage the stage, to the dancers, to the people who just work in the theater, everyone here has a sense of despair or doom hanging over them. There's no effort being made to protect the performers. It's almost as if everyone's decided this is the end. Maybe the sculptor is something that was meant to happen. Let's paint the scene again. Please describe that sense, that fatalistic sense of doom. How do you perceive it around you?
The youngest dancers, the ones that have just made their way into the ballet, who should be spry and full of energy and excitement. This will be their big debut. They huddle in a corner talking amongst themselves, never just beyond a whisper, their faces racked with lines of stress.
It is cold in here. It is so cold, and it is nothing unusual for a theatre to save some money by not bothering to stay warm when it's only the staff in. But the thing that's odd is that none of the dancers are shivering, wearing extra layers to fight off the cold, but seem to have simply accepted it.
It takes weeks to break in silk point shoes. It takes more breaking and bending. It takes good slams on the ground to soften the block, the point. Otherwise, it ruins your feet on stage. But it is a time-consuming process. But the way they're dancing, no one is bothering to break in their shoes because they don't think they're going to live long enough for the curtain to call. They are hopeless in their movements. They'd rather suffer the pain on their feet now than not suffer it at all later.
I would like to suggest that you're watching all of this from a box. And there is, again, someone in another box watching you. You can't make out the details, but you can see a huge mouth full of large, white, clamped together teeth. This person speaks to you from across the way. Are you enjoying my work yet? First this place, and then London. You get that as a clue, a free clue. And that wraps our day phase. The clue being, first this, then London. The despair is his work. Let's go ahead and transition into the dusk. I think first things first here. Are we going to be exploring Hargrave House, or are we going to continue with the London night phase? Seems like London because you all have things kind of set up, but I'll let you.
I mean, I have an appointment.
Yeah.
It makes sense to do a London night phase.
Fantastic. And you had mentioned wanting to bring the Resurrectionists into this. Is that still the case, Dr. Mortimer?
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Rabbi Solomon is safely in the grave now. Don't have to worry about that. I've given them the instructions not to go for her, so we're fine.
Excellent. Let's go around the table then and find out what everyone's doing. We know what you're doing, Ms. Quinn. If you want to add anything to that, by all means, let me know, but it seems pretty straightforward to me.
Just that I've made a note to do my reflection scarring at some point.
Yeah, we can do that actually. I think we'll kind of start with that maybe in the phase. I think that sounds good. Dr. Mortimer, what is your plan for tonight? You can return to the theater if you wish, of course, or you can do something else. Or maybe you never left. Maybe you've just been there.
I think I stayed at the theater. If Ms. Jean-Baptiste would like to leave, that's fine, but I'm staying for both the matinee and for the evening performance.
Indeed. Ms. Jean-Baptiste?
I think I will actually stay with the doctor.
Excellent.
Lucky me.
Mm.
Listen, it's not often that the killer just presents. Well, I say this, but this often happens to Phoebe when she's by herself. But this one seems interested in you. It might be fun.
You've been hanging out with
Don't
Cecily
choke.
too much.
Don't choke.
Let's take a moment to be reminded of the Resurrectionists. A gang of grave robbers led by Mr. White is loyal to you. Go ahead and pick your 2 choices.
So I would love, if possible, for the grave robbers to dig up corpses that night and during the dawn phase acquire a body part for the child. And I'm going to go with you'll face no blowback or complications from any criminal activities.
A good pick,
We've
'cause
already
I
got
had
Haskell
something in
marked by...
mind. Yeah, I had something in mind.
Oh, thank God.
You have avoided it by choosing that.
Good.
Fantastic. Let's go ahead and introduce the unseen for tonight. Tonight's unseen is the cult of the pig. The first prompt is everyone. Let's do Michelle on the second prompt, Wren on the third, and Jess, you'll finish it up. The Cult of the Pig. A secretive cult dedicated to the pagan swine god Moch has gathered in a fashionable salon on this holy night to make offerings to their porcine deity. Everyone, how has this otherwise sumptuously decorated salon been changed to make it a ritual space dedicated to an ancient pagan pig god?
The floors, usually a thick, lush carpet, that soft kind which caresses your feet with each step, is lost under the buckets and buckets of wet, squelchy mud that have been piled on top.
I'd like to think that this salon belongs to a gentleman's hunting club. And all over the wall are the mounted heads of trophies, deer and boars. The deers have been left untouched, but each boar on the wall has had a blindfold put over their eyes, as if to hide what is about to happen, or as if maybe to make up for what has already happened.
Pigs eat. They are known for eating. And there is food. Mountains of food, but most of it is meat, and most of it is raw, decorating the tables that line the walls of this tavern. It smells fresh.
Ms. Quinn, please tell us how the masterwork is changing.
The opening scene of The Distant Celestial is one that we are familiar with, in which we see the young Cecily's governess make a sacrifice to make her happy. Now, when this opera was first performed, that role was usually played by an alto member of the ensemble who changed costumes and continued to appear in the rest of the piece after the governess dies. But it has become something of a tradition over time to use it as a little bit of a cameo role, a stunt cast, if you will. Perhaps a retired prima donna has a short appearance and her death is met with great applause. Perhaps somebody who is much admired behind the scenes, another composer, might make a turn in this role. But now we find another opera company trying to find another way to breathe new life into this piece, which has been around for quite some time. Struck with the brilliant idea to have Cecily's beloved governess played by a man. Not in any kind of subversive way, not in a commentary on the expectations placed upon women to be in caring roles and the ways in which this harms them. In a cheap way. Oh, ha ha, a man in a dress. Something to lighten the audience up. Something silly. And so that gentle soul, that dedicated woman who loved Cecily so much she laid down her life in a foolish incident, is now transformed into a tall, clownishly dressed person doddering on high heels over the lip of the stage.
Dr. Mortimer, Ms. Jean-Baptiste, the performance is wrapping up for the evening. Muted applause, I would say. And you're joined in your viewing box by Mrs. Brathwaite and a man who we all know as D.I. Fairweather, though I don't think the two of you have ever met him.
Nope.
Can't say we've had the pleasure.
Dr. Mortimer, Ms. Jean-Baptiste, she says, what did you think of the performance? I thought it was lacking a certain vitality.
Mortimer hesitates. She knows she shouldn't engage. She knows, like, everything in her is saying run. But an opinion about the ballet. Oh, it was simply lackluster. The poor dears, the dancers are frightened beyond their wits.
Well, I can't blame them. I mean, all this horrible business with the sculptor, I'm surprised they even continued the show.
Entirely. It is such a shame. It was as if we were blindfolded the whole time. There was no rhyme or reason for half of the movements. It'd been better just to have not seen. What did you think, Miss Jean-Baptiste?
Phoebe itches her shoulder for a moment. I apologize. I am not one much for the ballet in this way. And she's currently trying to size up D.I. Fairweather in the same breath. So who is this person and their relation to Miss Brathwaite in that kind of way? Yes, I don't often get to see the ballet, so I apologize. I'm not terribly versed in what would be lacking.
No, not your fault. Not your fault at all. Mrs. Brathwaite, I don't believe we've met your companion.
Oh. Allow me to introduce you to Detective Inspector Fairweather from Scotland Yard. I believe he knows your man Haskell rather well.
Ah, yes. My man, Haskell. I can't say he's mentioned anything about you. Pray tell, how did you find the ballet?
D.I. Fairweather, he says, it's not really to my taste, if I'm being honest.
Yes, I thought as much. Well, What is it in particular you are doing about the sculptor, might we ask?
D.I. Fairweather says, Scotland Yard is on the case, I assure you, madam. We'll have him behind bars before you know it.
Well, he's not currently behind bars. And I know that, so... But who am I to pick holes in another's work?
Mrs. Brathwaite says, I wonder, Dr. Mortimer, Ms. Jean-Baptiste, have you heard about the Christmas tree unveiling that's going to happen outside in the square? In mere moments, I believe. Would you like to join us? It's supposed to be quite a spectacle.
Mortimer throws a look over to Phoebe.
No, we were unaware. It sounds like an interesting time.
I wasn't even aware that it was happening. The square was quite clear, but when we came in before... Oh, well.
Oh, well, you wouldn't have seen it. I think they have it covered with a great big curtain or something.
Well, I'm never one to shy away from new experiences. Should be interesting, to say the least.
I find them dreadful, myself. Christmas trees.
Why?
Oh, it's just so gaudy, don't you think?
Yes, taking something so naturally beautiful and making it perform and parade. Gauche, I do agree.
There's some element of tradition to it.
Oh? Say more.
Oh, I wouldn't want to bore you. It's more to do with just blessings for the new year and things of that nature. Although it's rather transformed, as all things tend to change with time.
So this is a repurposed pagan practice? Is that what you're suggesting, Ms. Jean-Baptiste?
Several things are. They've become so mundane that you hardly think about it, but in a way, sometimes the transformation can be more beautiful than the origin.
And she and D.I. Fairweather give each other a bit of a look at that. And then they smile and they say, well, I believe the unveiling is happening very soon. We should hurry.
Lead on.
Back at the cult of the pig, Michelle, Moch demands a sacrifice of riches. What does the cult offer him? Please describe it.
The cultists kneel in that mud, and before the covered eyes of the boars, they take the food that was around the salon, those raw meats, and what little vegetables, gourds, things which grow underground mostly, can be harvested. So late in the year, what little food there is to enjoy, what should perhaps be being saved for a holiday feast, it is laid out into the mud itself, and it is pummeled, destroyed, sunken. All of that feasting laid to waste, destroyed. It's not enough to just give some food. It has to be what you have to spare. Or if you have a great deal, you must give and give until you only have something left to spare, and then you must give that too.
Hazel Beaumont's shop is surprisingly bereft of fabric, mannequins, dresses, suits. It's really quite empty. except for a number of chairs that have been arranged in a semicircle around a little dais, flanked by mirrors. There are a number of other people, about a dozen people, seated, chattering anxiously, excitedly, about who's going to be chosen for a fitting tonight. Vincent says, "Well, of course, I hope they choose you, Miss Quinn."
Yes, so do I.
I wanted to tell you, I took care of that matter you asked me to.
Excellent. Don't speak to me again unless you have something important to tell me.
Right, of course, yes. What do you do while you're just sort of waiting for the show to begin, as it were?
Cecily has changed from the more fashionable outfit she wore earlier in the day. Now she is in what looks to be a slip, an underdress, really. She wore a coat over it when she was out in the cold, but now she takes it off and sits quite confidently in a state of undress, which would usually not be taken well in polite society. She's aware that there are eyes upon her, but she is sure never to look at somebody who is looking at her. Instead, she focuses on those who are chattering and simply appraises their appearance, their mode of dress, takes note of the subtle ways in which they desperately try to win attention, and is amused.
You can go ahead and do the information move with composure.
Okay. My composure is 1. 6, 7, 8. That's a 9.
I'm going to give you a condition related to your manner of dress, as such as it is, and say that you are exposed, whether that's
Okay.
spiritually, physically, whatever, but you're exposed. It's amazing, and it speaks to your particular nature, your power, that after a bit of initial shock, most people have just settled into the simple truth of the matter, which is you are here in a state of semi-dress. And most people seem to be agreeing that you will be the one to receive the fitting tonight. And indeed, the conversation becomes ever more about you. You can hear them whispering. You can see them looking. You will be the chosen one tonight. They can feel it. They can sense it. And you will learn something about Ms. Beaumont in all of this. But first, the sisters Sendula, who arrive from behind a black curtain that covers up the rear portion of the shop. They are dressed in black veils, gossamer veils that cover them, partially obscuring them. And they're holding hands, not quite holding hands, but touching fingertips as they approach the dais. They speak with one voice, or they speak at the same time, in tandem. We're so happy you could join us here tonight. Our employer will not be leaving her workshop this evening. We are here instead to explore, to discover, to define the future of fashion with you. They extend their hands simultaneously. The silk falls away from their hands, and they beckon you forward, Miss Quinn. What do you do?
Well, of course, I step forward. Who wouldn't?
The Christmas tree there has been a sort of box-like scaffolding built around it with a heavy curtain or tarp draped over for a big reveal. And lots of the people who were at the last performance are kind of streaming out and gathering around. There are street vendors selling roasted chestnuts. There are some of the orchestra have come out to play a little bit of music on the streets. All around the Christmas tree, a bunch of life-sized nutcrackers have been arranged around the base. Mrs. Brathwaite says, "Isn't this exciting? I have to admit, even my cold, dark heart is thawed somewhat by the festivity, by the cheer."
You know, it reminds me somewhat of the gift you had sent to Hargrave House. That full orchestra pits around and the one lone dancer in the middle. The tree with the crowd. Interesting. Oh, I cannot wait to see what is underneath.
What are you doing in the middle of all this, Ms. Jean-Baptiste?
Phoebe has trailed just behind and probably in step with the Pharaoh. And at the exchange, when Theodora mentions her cold, dark heart, she's thinking of the story about her little engagement with, well, not engagement, but entanglement with Queen Victoria. It's like, I don't quite know how cold and dark it could be. But instead she turns away to go and get some roasted chestnuts and bring them back.
Eventually, there is a bit of a hubbub as someone steps up to announce the unveiling of the tree. Everyone's very excited. Mrs. Brathwaite says, "I have to tell you, there's a bit of a surprise."
Something you have planned?
Well, I partially read mostly paid for this, and I did have certain aesthetic requirements.
I see. Perhaps in your favored color scheme.
And indeed, the cloths are dropped, revealing the tree in all of its magnificence. It's enormous, this huge sort of Norwegian pine or something. It's just towering, right? This towering tree covered in sapphire blue baubles. The ornaments, the tinsel, all of it blue. She says, you guessed my game, Ms. Jean-Baptiste. It is rather striking, though, wouldn't you say?
Yes, quite stately in nature.
There is a scream from the crowd. Fingers pointing up. There is a ballet dancer affixed to the top of the tree, spread to look like a star at the top. Even at this distance, you can tell that he is utterly terrified.
He's not dead.
No.
Oh, God.
The cult of the pig. Wren, Mock demands a sacrifice of status. What does the cult offer him?
In the center of this mud pit, an impromptu ring is formed. Men and women line the outside, forming the circle themselves as to step into the center. Men come behind them and tear their vestments from them. Their clothing is ripped and tattered and smear mud all along them, into their clothing, up their faces, down their legs, until they are thoroughly covered in mud. And then they are made to fight these two gentlemen who, prior to this, had been wearing what looked like expensive cloths. Things that depict all manner of wealth are made to fight and growl and scratch and bite at each other. Animal trying to claw their way to some false victory, one over the other, not to pin, just to utterly defeat. And when one of them lays stuck, unable to recover from the mud, the crowd around them begin to point and laugh, and their guffaws echo through this room as they laugh at the shamed one in the mud.
Ms. Quinn, your clue from earlier, which will become more apparent as you walk amongst the gathered viewers. Each of them has their hand, their right hand, bound in silver thread. Perhaps initially you thought it was a glove, a particular fashion statement they were all making, but no, man and woman, young and old, all of them have their hand wrapped in silver thread, almost creating like a silvery rictus sort of immobility in the hand. That's your clue. The sisters Sindula beckon you to the dais. Do you join them?
Cecily is acutely aware of all of those eyes from that watching circle upon her. And in that moment, she realizes she is not worshipped here. but she could never resist the new experience. So, biting on her tongue, biting back the comment that silver is so last season, she joins them.
Please, let's do the night move. What are you afraid is going to happen right now if in this situation?
That she will be shamed.
Oh. I have to say how it's worse than that. You will be shamed. And the power of Fey magic will break the magic that preserves you. If you wish to continue, pick up dice and roll with sensitivity. And because you're exposed, I'm putting you at disadvantage as well.
Oh, Jason.
Roll 3 and take the 2 lowest, please.
5. It's 8.
8. I will tell you that the complication is going to be simply this. You receiving the garment from the Sister Sendula is the equivalent of a Fey contract. Even if you're not aware of it, even if you're not aware that you're entering into it. If you don't want to deal with that, you can mark the Janus mask always.
I really want to mark a mask because I haven't done many, but that is so delicious. No, I'll take the complication. That's too good.
Indeed. I think your reflection scars as well for the whole scene.
Great.
Like that. And we'll come back to it. In addition to the horror of a live ballet dancer affixed to the top of the tree like a star, there is coming off of the tree in great waves the distinct smell of kerosene or something like that. Mrs. Brathwaite says, "This was not part of my plan, let me assure you, Hargrave House." She is nevertheless smiling.
The young man at the top of the tree, has he been gelded, or is he missing any features?
Unclear at this distance.
Oh. I look to Phoebe. Well, I'm completely... I don't know what to do.
At this point, I will note that D.I. Fairweather is nowhere around. I will also note that the Nutcracker statues at the base of the tree, one of them begins moving.
Oh. God.
I know this game.
His little Nutcracker halberd thing sprouts a flame atop the end of it. What do you both do? The crowd is going, the crowd is like very chaotic as well. Like everyone's just like kind of freaking out right now as well.
I'm gonna do a rite of salt and smoke if you want to do something else.
There is nothing the doctor can do in this moment that would have... I can try and use something from my personal quarters, but that's it. That's all I've got. Do your
What are
right.
you thinking, Miss Jean-Baptiste?
I'm trying to decide between two effects that I have. One is do one thing that is beyond human limitations, and the other is trap a specific person or creature. Do I do... Okay. Phoebe is going to look at the roasted chestnuts that she gathered, hand them over to the doctor, and just say, I'm going to need those, don't lose them, and reach into her bag, her lovely bag of terrible tricks, and is going to withdraw a small vial of what looks to be a mix of blood and oil, and is just going to shake it a few times, pop the cork in it, drip it into her mouth, and you see it begin to run down the outside of her throat, as well as she does it very messily and hastily. Come to me now. Do what I ask of you. And I'm going to try to do one thing that is beyond human limitations.
Go ahead and roll.
Not. Oh, God. That. Let me see. I don't think I have anything with me to help me. Nah, I wouldn't. That's fine.
What are you going to attempt to do?
I am going to get that dancer off the top.
Say no more.
What'd you get on the dice?
I have to do math. 11.
Oh, good.
It's an 8 plus 3.
If you want to bump it for your 12 plus, I'll give you a clue as well.
Sure. Yeah. 12 plus me.
Mark an aspect of the Janus mask. And let's take our last trip to the salon and the cult of the pig. Jess, Mock demands a sacrifice of blood. What does the cult offer him?
This parlor has been chosen very specifically, not just for the plush carpet that is cleaned and restored perfectly by the staff that work here. It is not just for the staff's proclivities to be able to procure as much raw meat as this ritual requires. There is also a very large fireplace at one end. It is on this fireplace now that we see something turning. It smells delicious. Turning constantly over the hot coals and flames. And among the chatter of worshippers, you can hear a muffled cry, a beg, a scream ripped from the throat that has been stuffed back in the mouth. Because what rotates slowly and drips and crackles over the fire is the shamed one, still caked in mud, rotisserie style, with a great red apple shoved in his maw. And as his skin breaks and as the fat beneath begins to crisp, as he drips, he screams and screams and screams. but nobody hears except Mock.
Ms. Quinn, you had a 7 to 9, right?
Mm.
You're taking this is the Fae contract. Please describe for me. Well, I'll describe the process as you step forward. The Sisters Syndulla, they work quickly. Indeed, it almost seems like their movements almost seem like stop motion, or like they're like frenetic cuts, right? Back and forth as they cut cloth, as they move their hands with needle and thread. There's a dizzying whir of fabric, of movement. All the people watching you, their own threaded hands, the threads begin to lift up. Little individual needles floating in the air, drawing the threads up. And they are also being sewn up, an eyelid, a mouth. All of this is happening while you are being wrapped in this garment. How can you tell when the garment is complete that you are bound to something?
Cecily is a little old-fashioned sometimes. She wears stays. They're comfortable undergarments. This dress cannot be worn with stays, for the bodice itself is a corset. And not a corset as women usually wear them, for support and to keep their posture fine, but a corset of the sort in cheap stories intended to titillate. A corset of the sort which binds across the rib cage. And for a moment, Cecily whispers, "So that's how it feels, Marriott."
Fantastic. Please take the condition bound by the Fae. This condition cannot be cleared in the normal manners.
Very well.
Ms. Jean-Baptiste, please describe how you rescue the dancer.
There is a moment where everything seems to still as Phoebe extends her hand up, one out towards the dancer and the other out towards this moving marionette. Not to do anything to it, almost as if to say, wait, watch. She extends her hand up, and there is a great creaking and a groaning as the tree begins to sway slightly, and the dancer looks horrified at the prospect of, oh God, I'm not going to burn, I'm going to fall. But the tree, the boughs of it, as they thin towards the top, begin to stretch out, almost like arms grabbing onto the legs of the dancer, ripping him from his position, and he begins to, it almost looks like he's falling, but he is being carried by the branches that wrap around like arms, pulling him down and down and down as the tree almost curls over in its efforts to keep this state of flow and bring him almost crashing down to the ground.
There is just shocked silence. Dr. Mortimer, Miss Jean-Baptiste, even Mrs. Brathwaite is very, very in awe of what has been witnessed here. The only thing you can hear is your clue. The voice of a castrato, perhaps, singing Verdi's Cortigiani vil rasa danata from Rigoletto. I'll give you the text of that later. And we'll wrap our night phase with Miss Quinn, newly dressed, the sisters Sindula observing their work from behind their black veils. The onlookers in tangles of silver thread, looking up at you in rapturous awe. And behind that black curtain that bisects the shop, a woman's whispered voice. Yes, she will do nicely. That concludes the night phase. Let's answer our dawn questions. We did not do the first two questions today. However, there might be a chance that we got echoes in the night. I think I picked up on echoes from most everyone. Ms. Jean-Baptiste?
To be honest,
Maybe
I don't
not.
recall.
I know. It always feels kind of like, so I guess that's the best bit. It all kind of feels connected. If you don't think you did, or if you're unclear, that's fine. Anyone else want to make a case for echoes in the night?
I did with Cecily stepping into the center of the circle in fear of being shamed.
Yes. I 100% picked up on that.
I'll say that Mortimer did as well, somewhere between the fire. To engulf the tree and the spit roasted man.
Oh yeah, yeah, very good.
I thought Miss Jean-Baptiste did. You kind of reference Christmas trees harkening back to pagan rituals. I don't know.
Oh, that's what I thought you were going for. Yeah, when you mentioned the pagan rituals, I thought that was what you were the connection you were making.
That feels so long ago.
So much has happened since then.
Oh boy, it really has. Okay, let's keep going. Dr. Mortimer, did you secretly engage in romantic or emotional behavior at odds with your aloof, logical exterior?
I don't know how secret it was, but it was certainly emotional.
Indeed. Did you dismiss the possibility of a supernatural explanation despite everything you've experienced? Yes, you definitely
absolutely
did.
Fuck that Snow Queen. I'm so sorry, but no.
Ms. Quinn, you certainly did appear in London wearing avant-garde or risque fashion. Did you express a clear preference for the beautiful over the mundane?
I think when the sisters spoke as one and reached out to Cecily, and she had no choice but to walk towards it. That was
indeed. I'll take it.
That was being drawn in.
Ms. Jean-Baptiste, did you counsel someone using your supernatural affinities as the basis for said advice?
I attempted to with the doctor. It did not happen, but
I think you should take it though. Did you have a face-to-face encounter with a dark entity? Arguably the Snow Queen.
Yes,
but yeah, if we think she's a dark entity,
I was going to say the sculptor.
Oh, the sculptor too. Yeah,
was there in another.
That's true. Yeah. I think between the two of them, you can get the XP. Fantastic. We do have to deal with the resurrectionists. You can tell us about that next week, Jess. And I think and then any jazz masks that are owed, we can do that next week as well.
I have a clue to define me and Haskell as well.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah. Make a note of that because I forgot to
Yes.
be reminded of that.
And I have another scar to think on.
Indeed. Let's just go to stars and wishes. What an interesting session. Despite our technical hiccups, I thought it still went off okay. So, it's the reason for the season.
Exactly that. I will absolutely start because I think from the get-go I was writing stuff down that I really enjoyed. The first thing that came up was when Wren described the smell of cinnamon and sulfur, which is just such a poetic combination. And that just stuck in my mind. I was like, yeah, I'm there. I just thought that was a wonderful description. For Michelle, the description of the satirical nature of the opera, with it being 3 pairs of twins separated at birth. I didn't know anything about satirical opera. I didn't know how that. And the minute you jumped in with that, I was like, okay, we've got something we can sort of run with now. That's how it's silly in opera. Okay, cool, right? Let's go. That was really, really, really good fun. And then Haskell, the scene that he had with Phoebe at the very beginning, Matt's scene with Phoebe, that was just really. It was both tender and tense. It was a really good mix of the two. And he always sort of is very, very rigid with Haskell and then just lets it down a little bit and then goes rigid again. I just think the way he plays him is really, really lovely. Jason, as per usual, you managed to twist it at the very end of anything that we think is really bad so that it's somehow even worse. I really love the Christmas tree reveal. I really loved the description of the nutcracker coming out at the bottom. You set it all up. It was going to happen, but I wasn't expecting it. I thought it was really, really well done. Really enjoyed that night scene. It's the first time I think we've done a night scene, 1 without Matt, and 2, all of us have all gone out instead of staying in having baths. Yeah, exactly. We were very brave this evening.
No, the last time we did, we solved the demon threat. We can do it.
That is true.
Yes,
That's
sorry,
true.
yeah, absolutely. I take
Well, there
it
was the
back.
vampire.
We brought smelly fake Haskell and we sorted it out.
We did. Oh yeah, we brought fake Haskell along to help us. Oh no, fake Haskell. But no, I had a blast. I thought it was brilliant.
Stars for the way you handled Sylvia Belrose, Michelle. That was just really fun. It was just such a fun moment. Really fun moment. So petty and like just perfect. So just really quite good. I'll second the star for the vulnerable scene between Phoebe and Haskell. That was terrific. Just a great exploration of those characters and how they operate in the world and with each other, and just really good stuff all around. And I also really it's a subtle thing, but I actually really love what you did, Jess, with the like you were like going to just get away from Mrs. Brathwaite if not for the fact that she asked your opinion about the ballet. Like it was kind of amazing. So yeah, that was just really good. But yeah, just great. Overall, just a lot of fun as always. You all do a great job with describing things. I really love the description of Marriott and how Marriott operates in the world. I thought that was really fun. It was fun to play around with. And also the Cult of the Pig stuff was really great too. So yeah.
I'll do a 2-for-1 star for Mortimer and Phoebe's scene together before going into the theatre. I just love I just thought it was wonderful characterization. I love the way these two bounce off of each other. And the more like uptight Dr. Mortimer gets, the more Ms. Jean-Baptiste is all about the vibes, but in a way that perfectly makes sense. And I love the connection and disconnections between those two. I just think it's beautiful. I really enjoyed. I could have just watched you two talking character forever. It's just so good. Star for Matt for dramatic power cut timing. Very good. And Jason, yeah, I honestly like just a star for always giving negative consequences which are too good to pass up. Like it is a skill. It's easy to just give like, and I don't know, and then you get hurt. And it's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use a mask. But you give consequences where it's really a difficult decision. Like, do I want to do the mask? Because I said before we started, I'm going to mark a mask today. I haven't done very many. And then I was like, this is too good. So star for that, for like giving us like juicy decisions to make.
There's something really interesting about the, like this is a kind of behind the screen game design thing, I guess, but like the undeniable in particular is written so that they last a really long time because they're an immortal character, they're very powerful, and so it's not completely surprising that you haven't marked so many Janus masks yet. I mean, I think you'd be a couple more along if we'd had you every session, but even that aside, but what's interesting is the reflection is moving along perfectly apace, right? I know. And like, and I love it because like, there's something about the way I've conceived of the undeniable as a character. They are almost like totemic. They are almost like literally iconic, right? Like they are just a thing, an ancient presence, and a forever thing, which we've seen more of with this like hint with the orrery, right? Like, and so there's really something interesting to me about learning about Cecelie almost in this like through the masterwork, right? Like that's intriguing, right? Because in some sense the masterwork is Ms. Quinn, right? Like, and I don't know, I just find it really fascinating. Yeah,
it's a really fun playbook. I'm having a lot of fun.
Stars from my end. Michelle, I really enjoyed the way that you incorporated the unseen into Cecily's scene with her in the circle, and then I think you said, I realize I'm not worshipped here. It was just, it tied in so well. And I was just like, how does she do this? I don't understand. I forget about the unseen 5 minutes later. So no, but it's just beautiful the way that you do that. Jess, I'm kind of seconding what I think Jason said when you reacted to Mrs. Brathwaite. Just like, oh, but ballet, actually. I love seeing that side of Mortimer come out, having seen this like strangely sentimental side, at least from Phoebe's point of view, strangely sentimental side of her earlier, and then seeing it happen again, because I doubt she talks about ballet in the house. So it was just a whole new exploration of Mortimer that I enjoyed being a part of. Matt, if you're in the ether, thank you for the little glimpse of Haskell's little history with the teacher that made him learn his saints. I need Haskell lore very badly. And Jason, I see. But no, I mean, like, I really enjoy kind of knowing where something is going and then just being surprised at the end of it. It's so fun where I'm just like, oh, I kind of see where this is playing out. Nope, actually there's a man on top of the tree. Well, here we are. And it's just because I never know, because I thought we're going to the ballet, something's going to happen in the ballet. No, it's Miss Brathwaite. No, it's a tree. And things just keep tumbling forward in this cascade of insanity. It's so much fun. Thank you very much. I enjoy it every time we come to play.
So that was unfortunate. Apologies for the citywide power cut that removed Haskell from that episode, but what are you going to do? It just happened. Weird that it happened just after I said I didn't believe in God anymore, but hey, the Lord moves in mysterious ways. Huge thanks to Jason and the Gauntlet for hooking us up with the very nearly finished second edition of The Between. We are having an absolute ball playing it, and once again, a huge thank you To my patrons for making this whole thing possible. Thank you, thank you, thank you, a million times thank you. I will be back next time, and until then, it is farewell and safe passage.